Well, hello, everyone. This is my interview day. I've been interviewing all today, and I've been waiting to interview this guest for the longest because I know that you're going to get such um, a kick. You're going to be refueled, you're going to be revitalized, and you're going to see how God works through all things. We are victors. I want to introduce to you Janine Conway, who is my new friend. It's hard to keep up with her, so I'm going to give her bio to you the best that I can. She is the most enterprising person that I truly, truly know. I know that she is a pastor. I know that if this is a ministry, I believe, Hands Up, Not Hands Out, LLC. I also know that she runs, I don't know how many businesses. This is one that I am absolutely sure of. Authentic abundance, how to build wealth fast. Woo! We all need that. That is just fantastic. And I know that she has the most lovely family. If you find her on Facebook singing along with her kids, it's just adorable. I want to introduce to you Janine, also known as JJ. Welcome. Thank you for being here, especially
Hey.
I know you're living in Texas. Tell us about that. Or were you?
Oh, I tell you what, I've been so irritated with my husband for us living in this old house with one bathroom. And it's like, well, there's no mortgage on it, but it stood the test of time. But I tell you what, the new half of the neighborhood has been without power since Saturday. So now I'm thankful for this old house because, sometimes those things that have had taken a beating, those old houses, some of us older people, we've done taken a beating, but we're still standing. And some of those new houses, they look good and they look pretty, but man, the first storm come along and took them out. And so I can be very thankful for how we are today, situated warm and snugly in this old house.
I'm so happy to hear that too, because I know that, different people are dealing with different challenges out there. And just to know that everyone's safe, that you're safe, your family's safe, and, you're doing well, just makes all of us, particularly me, so very happy. Uh, I could talk to you about a lot of things, JJ. And we do. When we talk, we do. I think one of the things that has fascinated me the most, or was fascinating me now, is the way that you have overcome adversity. I'm not talking about little things. I'm talking about big, humongous things that are sometimes it's this life threatening even, and you just somehow have such grace, a tremendous amount of perseverance, and belief in that everything's going to work out if you just put one foot in front of the other. You mentioned to me that some years ago, as an entrepreneur, doing all the things that you do, mother, entrepreneur, pastor, throwing all these balls up in the air, that you encountered what had to be one of the more life challenging experiences that you ever had. You were involved in a car wreck. Can you tell
Yes.
us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can, and I do want to put it into context for your audience as well. So about almost 4 years ago, I was rear-ended by a young man who was driving too fast in the rain. And not only the impact of that accident, but everything that followed after it really did a number on my psyche and my self image. And just to kind of set the stage, I was the first African American to serve in the Air Force as a physicist,
Mm-hmm.
and I was originally told I could not declare physics as my major or go on to be a physicist in the Air Force because at that time the Air Force Academy believed that blacks can't do physics. And so I fought very hard in my scientific career to be able to prove myself. And I'll admit, I was never the smartest scientist in the room, but I was always the most likable. And that's how you get funding. So, I did a very good job at
Yes.
what I did. And for this car accident to come along and reduce my scientific mind to the point where this person who wrote reports for the president couldn't even make Monopoly change with my son anymore. Like I
Gosh.
literally, and I would play it off. Oh, well, hun, you make the change because you got to get better in math. Like that's how I would play it off. But I would sit there and think, I can't even subtract 240 from 500 on Monopoly. And
Hmm.
it just broke my heart. And I felt like, okay, it's been a year and a half. I'm not getting much better. My memory would remember things from before the car accident.
Hmm.
So my son was repeatedly late to school because I kept thinking his school didn't start till a certain time and that I couldn't drop him off till a certain time. But actually, being in the upper school now, he started earlier and I kept dropping him off late because my mind was stuck. And it was one of the most humiliating and humbling experiences to be a scientist in the Air Force and unable to carry out these basic daily activities, and
Wow.
even in conversations, to say things like, oh yeah, remember we did this last week, and people would say, no ma'am, that was 2 years ago. It was very, very
Hmm.
humbling to me, and I really thought my life was over. And most of the people around me thought my life was over as far as career wise. I couldn't run my business for a couple months. I stopped taking clients. At work, my military job, I was the butt of many jokes, became the office scapegoat, and I mean, I can look back on it and I can see that I wasn't really functioning very well. But at the
Hmm.
time, I had been fighting for so long to prove that I belonged at the table. It was
Yes.
like the rug had just been pulled out from under me, and I was fighting even harder to prove that, yes, I still deserve to be here. And really, after about a year and a half, my primary care doctor was like, you need to go to counseling and accept your new life and
So,
learn how.
Janine,
Yes.
if I may interrupt, so the prognosis after you had this accident, there was no, I guess, was it murky whether or not you would recover? I mean, were they able to express how deep this brain injury was and how it was going to affect your life? Or was this all unfolding and was it all quite shocking to you?
It was very shocking to me because on one hand, I had a diagnosis from a neurologist that said severe impairment in all of these areas. And if you don't do something about it, she's going to go into early dementia in 10 years. And I mean, just the data was like very sobering. But then I take that to the Air Force doctors, and the Air Force doctors don't want to address it. They figured that it really wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't go unconscious in the accident, so it couldn't possibly have had that big of an effect. And the military doctors, they actually wrote, I went to another neurologist, and they wrote that she can't possibly have really had these injuries because her executive functioning, which for your audience that may not know, I know you know, but executive functioning means the ability to come up with an idea, give yourself a command, and do it. My executive functioning was still scoring very high. The problem wasn't the executive functioning. It's just what I was working with to get things done wasn't functioning. So from their perspective, from the military's perspective, I didn't really have damage. It was a psychological problem. And
Hmm.
so I have this one medical report that says, if you don't do something quick, her mind's going to be mush. And then I have these other doctors that say, we don't really believe anything's wrong with you.
And here
We
you
think,
are in the middle of that. I mean,
yeah.
how can you even advocate for yourself? How can you even, reason to see what's true and not true between these doctors and their reports? That had to be absolutely frustrating because we're talking about the quality. Your brain is essentially dictates the quality of your life in all areas.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so, what kind of support? I know you were married. I know you're married to a fabulous man. I think, were you married at the time, right?
I was, but he was in another state. So I was going through all of this with two kids and my husband in another state.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the thing that really hurt the worst is I had a coworker who was also involved in a motor vehicle accident, much more severe injury than mine. but she was getting all the care and she was getting a lot of these treatments. But even she had to go out and get and just I don't know who all's watching, but I know for me, I began to be resentful and feel like, well, she's white and I'm black, and you're taking care of her and you're not taking care of me. But at the end of the day, she still needed even more support than what the Air Force was willing to give her. And so she went out of pocket, and she had so much improvement with the hyperbaric chambers and the other things, that she's the
Right.
one who told me, you need to take your health into your own hands. And that's when I began to, and it actually got me in trouble with the military because they accidentally sent some of my scans and results to the base. And the base doctors were like, why are you getting medical care without us? I'm like, because you're not helping me and
Right.
I want to get better. And so I ended up doing, I'm very thankful for her journey now. She's made a very good recovery. She's gone off to command and show that you can recover. But she put that in me. Hey, whatever you're feeling right now, it's up to you to do something about it.
Right.
And
Right.
nobody else wants to help you. You have to find a way to help yourself. And that's when I began to do some research and I began to take personal growth classes, which I was already exposed to through my business with John Maxwell team.
Mm.
But now it began to take on an even deeper meaning. I also came in contact with the work of Dr. Daniel Amon, who does brain scans and research on food and nutraceuticals to help improve brain functioning.
Stop right
And
there, Janine, because I want to extract as much as I can from this
okay,
part
okay.
right here, because I think that those were some of your really significant steps. I'm aware of Dr. Amen. I've read a couple of his books, and he's all about the optimal functioning of the brain. So, as much as you're willing to dig a little deeper, what was you took your brain scans? What were the findings? What did he say that you needed, and what was the treatment? And by the way, he's California based,
Yep,
or was at one point.
yep,
For
yep, yep.
anybody who want to
Although
know,
I'm hoping he'll move to Dallas now that he
California,
opened up a Dallas clinic.
California, we have all those that cutting edge things.
Hey, I
So
love California, but y'all, my husband will not live where he can't have his gun. Texas, Louisiana, born in Louisiana, living in Texas. He needs free reign over his firearms. So
oh,
I love me some California though, but you can't beat the coast. And then if
right.
you want to go skiing, you can go up to Big Bear. I mean, come on, you got it all right there.
Well, just visit me. Just visit me. So,
Yes, we did the conference together. All right. Well, the
so
thing is,
yes,
so when I saw my brain scan, I mean, I'm all excited, right? Because I knew by time I actually got my brain scanned, I had made significant improvements already. And the significant improvements that I had made already had come from a very disciplined regimen of yoga and walking. Not only did it reduce the slip disc, so some of the injuries, in addition to the brain issues, the post-concussive syndrome, which was originally diagnosed as TBI, but they downgraded it because I was doing so well, the slip disc in my neck, and then also back issues. And what we found was that the yoga and the walking every day, doing one or the other, reduced the pain levels in my body equivalent to the variety of pain medications that I was on. And as I began to come off of some of those pain medications, I don't know at what point the healing in the brain combined with the healing in the body, but as the inflammation reduces, it helps your brain function better. And so then the migraines started going away. So after the accident, I had migraines all the time. They would ask, I would go to the doctor, they'd say, well, how many days do you have as a migraine? I'm like, how many days do I not have as a migraine? It's like 2 days a month that I
mm,
don't have all this haziness and pain. And so working through those steps, by time I had gotten to Dr. Amon's brain scan, I had made a significant amount of progress. But when I saw that brain scan and they show you the brain, and up in the little left hand corner is like this donut hole of nothingness. And I'm like, my brain is not supposed to have a donut hole of nothingness. Like,
wow. What
that's not
shows up
supposed to
as black
happen.
space, right? Dark space, correct?
Right, right. So what they're measuring is the blood flow. And where the blood's not flowing, it shows up as dark space. And so what they did find is when I'm concentrating on something or I'm creating something, the brain gets more blood flow into that area. But when I'm just relaxing, there's this big old hole in this particular quadrant. And then the
Wow.
other thing they found was damage, and he couldn't quantify, when it happened. We think it was that accident, but they saw damage. So my brain in certain spots looks like a 65-year-old brain.
Wow.
So, and I'm 45, 46. Yeah, I'll be 46 soon. So I've got some time before my brain should look like that with the blood flow and the areas the blood isn't flowing. But then they also found that there was in the back of the brain that's really supposed to be the most active, nothing going on. And it just made my heart drop. I was like, well, no one. I mean, on one hand, it was like, no wonder I've been having these problems. But on the other hand, it's like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? Like, you can't fix that. And they're like,
Yeah.
yes, we can fix that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's the great news. That's one of the things that Dr. Amon likes to say is the good news about your brain is you can always improve your brain. You are not stuck with the brain you've got. But for
Yes.
some of us, it takes more intensity than others. And for me, it took a lot of intensity to be able to fast forward. And today I'm now running an international financial education company because I needed to cut the sugar and I needed to cut the corn and cut the potatoes and I needed to take the probiotics and take the fish oil and take these different things to help improve the brain. And I'm very thankful. I'm
So
so
Janine,
thankful.
you had that first brain scan. Have you had one since?
No. I had what they do is they scan you twice, one of you resting and one of you concentrating. And then in
Mhm.
about a year or so, in about a year or two, I'll go back and get it scanned again.
Whew, my goodness, what a story. How does that affect you psychologically? And I know that you're improving. Um, how does that affect you psychologically? How does it affect your motivation? How does this affect everything that you're about and understanding who you are? How do you enter into that space of saying, who is this stranger? Who's this Janine now that
Well, and
this has
that's the
happened?
thing. That's the thing. I wasn't me. I wasn't
Yeah.
me for years. I wasn't me. And I'd say it's only been in about the last year that I feel like I've gotten my old self back. And if I'll be
Mhm.
honest with everyone, sometimes we don't like to admit it, but there's only bits and pieces of my old thinking prowess that comes back. But at least what I have now is highly functional. And I don't, oh, that didn't come out right. I don't mean to sound, I don't mean to sound arrogant or anything, but as a scientist, you're used to thinking in
Of
matrices. And
course.
you have this big brain, right? But you can't read any social cues. It's like the curse, like keeps you humble, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
so
It's okay.
we all have our strengths and talents, and there's moments now where I actually can think that spatial matrices kind of way, and I'm like, oh, I may be coming back all the way, but the progress I've made thus far, even if that never happened, I'm so amazed at the progress I've made thus far. But now that
Mhm.
it's starting to happen again, I'm like, oh, I'm about to be back, baby. And not only will I have my old thinking patterns, but I'll
Yeah.
have that humility that came from sitting there, not being able to answer questions. They would ask me a question and it would take so long for my mind to form the answer. And then it was like it was there, but I couldn't get it out of my mouth. And
Yes,
any of your
yes.
audience who's experienced a stroke, I've been told that these are very similar symptoms. Like you could ask me, what is this? And it would take time and I would be like phone, but before I could get it out of my mouth, what would come out of my mouth wasn't phone. What would come out of my mouth was cup or pen.
Oh,
And it was the most
wow.
frustrating thing in the world. I would get so angry. And my friends were like, wow, you're really not you. You're so angry, and we can tell that you're having trouble communicating, and we can see how frustrated you're getting. And in that moment, I thought about all those times I went to minister in a nursing home and I didn't have any patience for the crotchety person standing across from me who was just angry at everything.
Mm.
Well, now I can see why. You have all of this experience and you have all of this wisdom. And sometimes the way life happens, it's hard to get it out or pass it on. And what was everybody else doing? Everybody else was acting like I was washed up. And
Yeah.
even in my military job, they literally put me in a job. They moved me to a new job where I didn't have any duties assigned. I sat there as a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. I sat there at the front desk where people would come in. I would say, "Hi, how you doing? How's it going?" I would have the candy bowl and I would check my email, and that was my job. Like I didn't even have a job, and I felt like my life was over. And when the
Janine,
doctor
Janine, how do you work through that layers of unforgiveness? I mean, you were, you know, I'm going to say somewhat abused. I mean, you would think that your family, your military family, would be the family that would be right there supporting you, and they're
no.
putting you in the corner, trying to persuade that your symptoms are not all of that. How do you deal with those layers of unforgiveness? I would be very much, yeah, angry and unforgiving and bitter, even.
Well, it was two different categories of people. So the people that I worked with, they thought I was a vegetable and I wasn't coming back. And that's why they set me in the corner. They figured it was only a matter of time before the doctors got rid of me. And it was like the doctors kept not getting rid of me because I kept getting better, you know. But for a while, I wasn't getting better enough to do what I used to do. And so, the unforgiveness that I had to work through wasn't the being put in the corner, because I now know that that was helpful. I now know that that's what my brain needed. I was trying so hard to prove myself. I didn't start to heal until I realized that these people don't care anymore and I can't prove myself and it's over and I need to go on and do something else with my life. And
Mm.
then I could release that stress of trying. And then when I released the stress, it was like, oh, my brain is getting better. And I didn't know that that's one of the biggest problems for us is stress. But the unforgiveness had to come in when you have that kind of a brain issue or some kind of injury like that. Now, all of a sudden, in a highly competitive environment, people who are supposed to be your family and your coworker and your brothers and sisters in arms,
Hmm.
they're like, oh, not me. And you become the office scapegoat and you become the reason everything goes wrong. And you become the person they hand all the junky things to because they don't want to get any stain on themselves. And that's where I had a lot of bitterness and just raw anger. And I only found a path forward through my faith and through a trusting that the Lord meant what he said when he said that all things work together for your good. And I had to believe that at some level, this was going to be an episode in my life that was needed for me to grow. And I believe that the compassion for people who have been injured and the compassion that I've developed for people who've been through things like that, and the patience, I was never a patient person. I've always been a let's get it done kind of person. And just and it's been surprising, some people who are trying to communicate with me and are like, I'm so sorry, and I'm like, it's okay, take your time. And I understand that now because I've been there. And because I've been there, it's actually turned around to be a super blessing for me because I'm now able to this is I don't know a nice way to say this. I get a lot more mentoring and I get filled a lot more with wisdom for my business and my life from people who other people my age have kind of cast off and aren't patient enough with
Mm.
to extract the wisdom. And so for me, I do. It really took the Lord. It took the Lord to really come in and shed his love abroad in my heart and encourage me that it was going to be okay.
Wow.
But it also takes doing something. There's that old phrase that says, the Lord answers my prayers faster when I pray with my feet.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You have to be a co-creator with the Lord in order for
Yes.
these things to happen. Well, that is a fantastic story. Audience, did I not tell you that this was a fantastic story? Um, and I want to know, has you as an entrepreneur, has some kind of business come out of this, or how has going through this process affected how you show up as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely, absolutely. So going through this process not only opened up my eyes to the need for people to improve their life through improving their thought process and the functioning of their brain. So that's one avenue. But the process that I use to overcome this, faith and prayer and leaning upon the Lord, and then being open to the people that the Lord put in my path. I
Mhm.
had read Dr. Amon's books a long time ago, but I put them to the side because I really didn't need anybody telling me to stay away from bread and sugar. I really wasn't trying to hear that.
Yes,
you know and
I
then
hear
also
you.
another mentor of mine, Paul Martinelli, I would talk about how much I was frustrated. I couldn't seem to get going again, and I know that this injury wasn't supposed to end my life, because if it was, I wouldn't still be here, and
Mhm.
all these things that I would give as excuses as to why I couldn't grow. And he's like, it has nothing to do with that. It's you. It's
Mm.
you. And he took me through some lessons on improving my self image and really thinking strategically to what future do I want to have.
Yes, yes.
And we always talk about the future, like one day I want to be a millionaire. One day I want to do this and one day I want to do that. But a lot of us don't need to be a millionaire tomorrow. What we really need to make this month is an extra five or $10,000 so
Yes.
we can have some breathing room, right? And so he's like, stop thinking about, don't be a wandering generality, be a meaningful, specific. What do you, no kidding, want out of your life 5 years from now, 1 year from now? What do you want? Write it down. And so being open to these people like Dr. Amen or Paul Martinelli and being able to say, this is what I want out of my life, that laid the foundation. And now that I've had so much healing, and now that I'm running my company again, and I'm actually full-time entrepreneur, like I'm a full-time entrepreneur by day and full-time mom by night. So something's working,
Yes,
right?
yes. I
um,
can't keep up with you.
now that is going the way it's going, I have packaged those lessons and they form the basis of my self-image rising class. And
Tell us
so
a
I
little bit
have.
about that. Tell us a little bit more about self-rising because I'm coming. I'm going to check you out. But I know that you and I, that's where we kind of intersect because I think so much of life is determined by the worth that you place on yourself or don't place
Yes.
on yourself. So tell us a little bit about that program.
Yes, when I first heard you talking about the mindset and the boundaries, I was like, I love her. I need to get to know her, because so few people are taking ownership. Few people are teaching others to take ownership of their lives. It's more
Hmm.
like, pay me money and I'll help you do better. But no, it's like, no, you can pay me money. I want you. Look, I got stuff to do. I want you to pay me money, right? Y'all
Yes,
can Cash App, Queen of Cash Flow, right? But I'll take your money. But taking your money doesn't change anything if you don't change your thinking. And so when I package these lessons up, I said, that this helped me. I bet it's going to help other people. And it's been so impactful in hundreds of lives that now when people come to me for financial coaching, half of the time, I don't even take them as clients. I tell them, you need to go through this class. Use my Steelers discount code, get in there at a discount. You complete this class, and then we will talk about financial coaching, because money problems aren't really money problems. They
that's
are
right.
people problems.
Yes.
And so we do the self image rising class to kind of get at the people problems and the self image. And then we move into authentic abundance, which explores the science of getting rich. But I can teach you the science of getting rich. But if you're still thinking that you're not good enough, or
Absolutely.
you're still holding on to, like when I was a kid, they thought I was slow. They said I was slow and I was never going to amount to anything. And so if you're still holding on to that deep down inside, you can
Yes.
have all the letters after your name and all those signs on the wall, all those certificates. You can have all of that, and you still, like I did, still feel you're worthless. And that was even before the car accident.
So, so true. And what's so insidious about this is that, some of us are balled and chained to some limiting beliefs for 20 years, 25, 30 years. And it's operating under the surface. And it's just sad because what it is lies that are definitely just kind of boxing us in.
Right.
And absolutely, it's absolutely true what you're talking about. That is the money is just a symbol to me. Oftentimes of um, about worth. I'm
Right.
talking about the work that we place on ourselves.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
absolutely. So I'm so absolutely fascinated with what you're doing. So if someone's interested in getting involved with self-rising, or they'd like to get into your authentic abundance program, give us some steps. What do we
All
need to
right.
do?
Well, the easiest way to connect with me is to go to my website, buildingwealthtogether.com. You can actually register free on the teaching platform without signing up for a class. But I got so many free and low cost classes. I got some expensive ones too, but I got so many free classes. There's no reason you shouldn't take one. Now, I will
Yeah.
say the Authentic Abundance is a high end class. And so that was one you can reach out to me directly, and you can do that through Facebook. I have a fantastic Facebook group, Building Wealth Together. It's a
Hmm.
Facebook/group/build wealth with JJ. And I'm in there every day posting encouragement, answering any questions that come up. And those are great ways to get a hold of me.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to ask that you not walk but run and connect with JJ and see what her offerings are and how that can help you really live the life that you want, the life of your dreams. And so I want to thank you, JJ, for being here. I can talk to you forever and ever. And again, I want to say this publicly: the fact that you showed up when you're dealing with this situation in your town is, I don't know, it just stokes me. It just makes me so happy. And we are so very grateful to you. And so until next time, everyone, thank you for being here. We will talk to you later. Bye bye now.
Bye.